I have something which I believe could very well be fantastic news for the future of Toshi. And what is that? We take a look at this right here. We'll see that not too long ago, according to the Daily Hodl, Coinbase acquires blockchain startups team to enhance privacy efforts on the Base network. Now you may be thinking, okay, why does this even matter for something like, Toshi? Who cares? It's not important. Well, here's the thing. Keep in mind, Toshi is on the Base network. So let's say Coinbase is putting an effort out there to, let's say, do stuff like this to maybe enhance the privacy of something like the Base network. Of course, that's going to greatly benefit projects that are on the Base network, much like Toshi. It's only logical to assume that. Because think about this, right? When Solana really popped off, what went along with the ride? A bunch of meme coins. Much like, for instance, Book a Meme, we take a look at Dog with Hat. Not too long ago, also Myra went along with the ride. Take a look at Bonk. Now, of course, a lot of meme coins are having a pullback along with the whole space overall, generally speaking. I totally understand that, but take a look at what happened there. So as the Base network improves and as stuff gets better on the Base network, it's only fair to assume that these amazing projects with a good fan base, much like Toshi, are going to go along with the ride, especially once the bull run starts kicking into, its motion, in my opinion, in a very fantastic way. I think it's going to take some time. Some people are predicting that, things are going to pick up in a month or 2 months, but whatever the case may be, I still do believe that whatever happens, again, once the bull run is really in fifth gear, this is going to matter, in my opinion, especially when it comes to the Base network and also something like Toshi, which is on there. Now, keep in mind, if we take a look at a layer 2, much like, for instance, in the case of Cody, a privacy-centric layer 2, that was the unique selling point for Cody. But then now, something like the Base network, this is the forward-thinking mindset that they have. They keep continuously improving. They keep trying to adapt and say that, hey, okay, what are the unique selling points of these other layer 2s? How can we kind of implement those same things? And again, by doing stuff like this is very amazing. And this is what I've been talking about throughout this whole time. Coinbase, they have the resources. They have the capital. So when they make a layer 2, I really do believe that they're going to do their best to try to improve it and make it better. Their, reputation is quite essentially somewhat a little bit on the line when it comes to this, because if, let's say, the Base network didn't develop, if, let's say, it failed for whatever reason, that's going to be very bad luck for something especially as massive as Coinbase when they do make a layer 2. I just don't think that's going to happen, which is why I do believe that even though Toshi isn't going to become the biggest meme coin of all time, I do believe that it's in a very secure location, aka the Base network, because this is pretty much as fail-proof as it gets. I mean, again, when one of the biggest exchanges out there in the world, take a look at Coinbase, right? When you take a look at how they have a layer 2, this is something that's very impressive. As long as Coinbase is around, which I do believe is going to be around for a very long time, I think the Base network is as well. A bunch of other layer 2s out there, they can't really do stuff like this. I mean, can you imagine how much disposable income something like Coinbase needs to have in order to do stuff like this? We see these large-scale enterprises sometimes do this, right? They, acquire like a startup team or they acquire like a startup project just to kind of, get the technology in some cases, to get the, employees, to get the resources. In some cases, we've seen that. But then again, in order to do stuff like that, there needs to be a lot of disposable income. Coinbase, they're not having financial difficulties, in my opinion, especially when I take a look at stuff like this. This is such great news, in my opinion, for not only just Toshi, of course, but also just generally speaking for the projects that are on the Base network. But ultimately, this is, of course, very bullish because oftentimes people consider Toshi as the face of the Base network when it comes to meme coins. They consider it the mascot of the Base network. The reason being is because, yes, there are other, meme coins on the Base network. But really, if you take a look at Toshi, it's the one that makes the most logical sense, in my opinion. Because Coinbase, the co-founder is Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong's pet cat is named Toshi. So again, the name is very similar. It's exactly the same, I should say, right? It's actually named after that. But even besides that, Toshi is even listed on Coinbase. I mean, you got to think about that. Something like Brett, in my opinion, which people would consider the number one meme coin on the Base network, it really hasn't had the hype and attention that Toshi has had as of late. Even though, of course, Toshi isn't doing the best in price. Well, neither is Brett, really. But still, I do believe that Toshi is just the most logical, meme coin on the Base network in a sense that it's the one that makes the most sense. And again, Toshi, the name is actually very similar to Satoshi Nakamoto. I think it's very fantastic overall. Satoshi, of course, is allegedly the creator of Bitcoin. But even besides that, if we take a look at something like the Base network, it's going to continue to thrive. There's going to be a need for these layer 2s. A layer 2, basically, allows Ethereum to be enjoyed while at the same time not having to deal with a lot of the crazy nonsense like sky-high gas fees and scalability issues. Again, when it comes to this case, in the case of layer 2s that I'm talking about, like the base network, for instance. So again, it does play a very vital role. As long as Ethereum grows, the base network is going to grow. And I don't really see why Toshi during this bull run won't hypothetically go to the price of 2 cents, because if you think about it, once the hype for Toshi, right, jumps back in, which I think it will be amplified a lot further, especially once the base network starts going up, especially once the hype kicks back in when it comes to the base network. Really, the sky's the limit. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, you got to think about why 2 cents isn't that crazy, because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $8 billion. Toshi has dropped so much in price, right? To the point that now 2 cents is around a 58x from here. I mean, just let that sink in. So currently, Toshi, right, just going to the price of 1 cent is already nearly a 30x from here. I mean, you got to think about that. This is how amazing something like Toshi is. Now, people may think it's a bad thing because some people, they probably got in at the top. In some cases I've seen, they probably, I've seen in some of my friends, right, they're sitting at a loss. I'm totally aware of that. However, in my opinion, if anything, I'm still dollar cost averaging because I just don't see why it wouldn't go up again. I have a hard time believing that that was the peak, really. Like, if you take a look at, altcoins just generally speaking, I feel like we haven't really seen that full-on 2021 fifth gear type of fully fledged bull run yet, in my opinion. We haven't seen that, at least from my perspective. Now, only time will tell, but I just think that this kind of really reminds me of like back in early 2021, let's say back in March and April. Did anyone ever really think that a number of months later, Dogecoin was going to reach around $80 billion in market cap? Shiba Inu was going to reach around $40 billion. I highly doubt that that was the general consensus. So I do believe that when it comes to this moment in time, in the next 1 or 2 months, I really do believe that this is such a good opportunity for me, theoretically speaking, to just really dollar cost average more, really accumulate more and focus on the projects that I do like, focus on the projects that I think are very fantastic, much like Toshi. I'm not telling anyone to buy Toshi because, I can only speak on my behalf, but in my opinion, this is such a no-brainer for me. I mean, I was bullish on Toshi back then before it had that pump. I was bullish when it had that pump. I was very happy, of course, but I didn't sell anything, and I'm still very bullish right now. If I was bullish on Toshi at a much higher price point, and even at a much lower price point also back then, I wouldn't be bullish right now. That just makes no sense to me. And really, if we take a look at it, historically speaking, altcoins, they typically peak as a worst case scenario around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. The last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April of last year, so 18 months actually around October this year. Even historically speaking, as a worst case, this isn't even supposed to be the time when altcoins are supposed to peak. Now, each cycle could be different. There's no telling, right? This is just based off history. But I'm going to pay attention to near the end of this year. And I really can't wait. Toshi at the price of 2 cents, still my price target. And really, when I see news like this about the base network, it really does get me excited because, of course, I think that's going to be very bullish for something like Toshi moving forward, and especially during a fully fledged bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.